Good morning and welcome to KTN Life and Style. Thank you for joining us on Relationship Wednesday. Talk to Pastor Chris. Again, no, your channel is okay. Your TV is not broken. You're not seeing Pastor Chris, but a representative of him. I am here sitting in for Pastor Chris. I'm Martin Gedenji. Pastor Chris, I shall not speak for him. I shall only represent him. Here. You can find us on social media at KTN Life and Style and KTN Life _ Style on Twitter and KTN Life and Style on Facebook. You can also find us. You can also send us emails on lifeandstyle@standardmedia.co.ke. We are again at Mugs and Brews along Ngong Road. In case you live around or happen to frequent these sides, you can drop in one day. Who knows, you might find us here. And we have somebody who has a promise to buy people coffee when we are here, so we are going to meet her a bit later. So if you come and you happen to find her, just know your coffee will be sorted. Anyway, today we are going to engage in a conversation that most could be or might be afraid of, and that is interference of technology in relationships. Now, scientists and researchers came up with or rather coined a term, which is technoference, which is basically technology and interference, two words that are married together. Now, in the recent past, there has been an explosion of technology use in everyday family life. Almost every Kenyan adult has access to the internet, and they spend a lot of time on there. And out of these adults who have actually a mobile phone, you'd realize that most of these mobile phones are smartphones, especially adults between the age of 24 and 35. And you find that engaging with a mobile phone, which is new to most, which in the last, what I would say 18, 20 years, is when we've had the use of mobile phones increasing in Kenyans, but specifically the use of mobile phones for the internet and engaging in social media sites, WhatsApp chats, applications on dating and whatnot. There has been quite an increase, especially to date. But to discuss more about the interference, and keyword interference, because according to some, they say there are positives and there are also negatives, but we're going to focus on the negatives mostly, but touch on the positives. To have this discussion with me, we have, they will introduce themselves, but I will just bring them in. We have Ruth Bolo, who I hear has run this gig longer than me.
Thank you so much, Martin. I'm very happy to be here. It's a very nice place. Ruth Bolo is my name. I'm a fashion designer.
All right. And then we have Mr. John.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, as you've heard, my name is John Boro. I am a motivational speaker. I also do music, and I'm also in business. I'm an entrepreneur.
I know there are some who are confused. Nona John Wawili Cosette. Yes. Sometimes I go by the name John, but call me Martin for now. Next.
Thank you, Martin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Milka Ruhara. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also a transformational life coach.
And I'm convinced that she's half Japanese, because Ruhara is how I would have pronounced that name. All right. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us.
Every morning when the sun peeks through my blinds, I wake up and hold my phone an inch away from my face to check Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and Tumblr. Being in the loop of these social worlds keeps us powerfully attached to our devices. A recent poll found that American adults would rather live without a car, coffee or sex than live without a smartphone. So how does our relationship with technology affect our relationship with other people? Last year, a study found that excessive Facebook use is damaging towards relationships, where higher use is correlated with a higher frequency of feelings of jealousy and Facebook-related conflict. Our use of technology and devices is on the rise, and it does change the way couples of all ages communicate, show affection and share special moments. Is it for better or worse? And it means different things to different people. How you use your smartphone depends on your attachment style in relationships. One study found that a greater use of social network apps was positively associated with intimacy and support for people with higher attachment anxiety. So it seems like there's a feedback loop. People with more attachment anxiety in relationships alleviate this by using their phone to seek more contact and intimacy from their partner, which leads to more of an attachment to their partner and maybe even to their phones themselves. And so often it's these handhelds and technology that's seen as the victim. Mobile phone addiction ruining relationships. 9 ways technology can ruin your relationship. Technology overload can ruin relationships. Expert. How texting can ruin relationships. Sure, higher Facebook use leads to more feelings of jealousy in relationships and Facebook-related conflict. But feelings aside, surely excessive bacon consumption would lead to more bacon-related conflict, and excessive Game of Thrones consumption would lead to more Game of Thrones-related conflict. In a recent study, only 10% of married or committed internet users say the internet's had a major impact on their relationship. 17% said it had a minor impact, and 74% said it had no real impact at all, or that the impact was positive.
All right, so from what I gather, just to put it out there so that people stop asking questions, amongst the 4 of us, we have 30 years of experience in marriage. I'm not going to say who has the bigger bulk or the smaller bulk of it, but we have 30 years of experience to offer to our audience. So let's start with you, Mrs. Ruhara Milka, because looking at our faces, we can tell that we are a bit younger, and you have experienced 1 or 2 generations before us, where you can at least say, okay, let's say 1 generation, sikupeleke mbali sana, at least 1 generation before us, where you can say, have you seen a shift or a change and the dynamics changing as far as the influence of technology in relationships is concerned?
Yes, I would like to say I have witnessed. And I think by the time I was getting married, I didn't even have a phone, neither have an idea of a mobile phone. So by the time phones are coming, we didn't have this WhatsApp and all these things. So it was just a basic phone of communicating. Like you can call home, you can call your spouse, So, but comparing to today, I mean phones everywhere, turn left, right, center, phones everywhere. And everybody seems to be having a relationship with the phones. Wow. I mean, and it's getting out of hand because you find parents are forgetting they're supposed to be parenting, children are forgetting they're supposed to be children. Everybody is just engrossed in their phone and chatting away, and all those things. And I think it's getting to a dangerous place where if we don't do something about it, we are going to lose touch as human beings. Because if I can have anything on this set, everything that I need on this set, that's what I want to believe, that I have everything here, then I don't need to talk to Martin. I don't need to talk to Ruth or John, because the phone is meeting that need. And yet, that is not the purpose of that phone. We are relationship beings. We are supposed to be relating, talking, communicating in various ways and enhancing and empowering each other. But the phone has come and it's interfering.
Yes. Hey, Ruth, because Milka here has started on the extreme. She's already gone, phone is the devil. Do you agree with her that it's that bad?
I don't think it's as bad as she's making it sound, though it has really interfered. If you look at my generation now, the phones make it very difficult to have a relationship where you trust each other 100%. Right now, I think the most you can trust someone is 40%, because it's not just social media, it is the gallery. You open your partner's gallery and the things you find there, you wish you had never even known he has a phone or she has a phone. And so, in as much as it does have those challenges here and there, for those who have, say, long-distance relationships, or for those who have very tight schedules, even though they're around the same areas, then the technology really does help them bridge, it helps them bridge that gap for communication. They're able to feel as if they're sort of close to each other, even though there's some distance in between them. they're able to get to know the different challenges they're going for. And so if you're in a long distance relationship, an online relationship, or if you're in a relationship where you're both introverts, then the technology wouldn't be an interference as such.
And it's something interesting you're mentioning, because clearly you're saying people would rather trust what the phone has to say about you than what you have to say about yourself. Where if you're asked a question and give me your phone, that's always
Yes.
the first thing you go to. By the time you tell a man or a woman, because we're looking at both sides, give me your phone, and then they start sweating, then you know, aha, there is a problem here. There is a problem here. Now, John, from, first of all, how long can you go without your phone?
How long?
Yes.
Being in business, I know I will need to have my phone with me. Being in business.
We have had that reason.
You can't do without the phone.
Well, yes, yes, because of the nature of my business. But I have also conditioned myself not to also get to the very extreme. I'll give you some specifics. There's this thing called the WhatsApp status. It's very addictive. Very addictive. And I'll give it in this facet. You would be tempted to want to see what is happening in the lives of other people. And if you also posted something, you're also tempted to see how many people saw what I posted. So you find that now becomes a big deal. Let me come to things like Facebook, for example. I always ask myself, why would Facebook ask me what is on my mind?
Now you're beginning, unaanza kurusha mawe. You know? But before we delve into that, because there's an aspect at least I'd want to get from her, because it's been defined as social media. We're breaking it down. Technology has had its positives and negatives. We have things like electricity, good technology. We have the television, good. It is getting some of us paid, giving us jobs. There we go down to the personal devices like laptops, mobile phones, tablets, and whatnot. Now, there's the element of socializing. We have social media as it is defined, and we have social media what we have seen and known its effect as. Now, looking at how it has been defined and how it is, and how you know socializing to have been before the mobile phone, do you see a discrepancy?
Yes, very, very clearly. Enter any restaurant at this time. Couples eating together, but everybody's on their phone. Chatting away. Yes, sincerely. More than 70% are not talking, like talking the way we are talking here. Everybody's on their phone doing something else. So you find that relationships are getting strained because of this social media. But I guess as much as Ruth and John are saying, they have their places in our lives, in our business lives, but we need to have a limit. We need to have a control, because I think the phones are controlling us. You miss your phone or leave your phone at home, most likely you'll go back home to collect that.
Actually, you're talking about something that happened this morning. I left, got to town, dropped my wife, and then I realized I had left my phone. I had to go back home. My excuse, I wouldn't have known this place.
But I think there's something Milka has said about getting to a restaurant and finding couples on their phones. But how about we be very honest with ourselves? Because whatever content is there on social media helps us build conversations with one another. For example, if we've just moved into a new house, right, and on social media I come across, say, someone who has just redecorated, don't you think that's a conversation we can have? But if I had not come across that post, then that conversation is gone like that.
But we are creative beings. We need to have our own ideas, like, fine, okay, but should that take away half of the time that we are supposed to be spending and being together?
But for married couples, you sleep together, you wake up together. From time to time, you check on each other during the day. It would not hurt for both of us to just have some small time where we get to connect with other people, because at the end of the day, life is about also connecting and getting to know what the other people in your life also think about, what they're going through.
I see we are getting to a point where we're almost removing our earrings and shoes. But let me redirect this something a bit more specific. I get what you're saying as far as what social media is doing. And then there are those who, in this generation, are taking the use of social media to benefit themselves in terms of business as well, for example. And one thing that I would point out and say is that at the point probably John would want to be on social media, he wants to be on social media talking about his business at the point where he knows most people are on social media, which unfortunately happens to be most of the time, or the time when you're supposed to be, say, at home with your family, for example, you know. So that has an effect on what your family will see as you are fully on social media. So, John, you are on social media for business. You say that at times you condition yourself. How effective has that conditioning been? And are there people around you who will say, indeed, John had said he'd be doing this, and he actually does it?
Yes. Now, I'm happy because you're asking me this question as a man, because also know as a man, we are not good at multitasking. You know, I wanted to respond in that way.
So you just happen to be a man. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. So, and for me, I know I have to focus on one thing at a particular time. So if I know I so very much want to interact with people, I would try as much as possible not to be on the social media space or with my phone, because I know I can't give divided attention. So with me now conditioning, it's because I've also realized that in me now trying to do both, I'll actually be lying to myself and probably to the other people that whatever I'm doing is different, you know. So, and also find that at times, and this I know it also happens, that you're also typing something. So whatever you're conversing is not what actually, it's not what you wanted to type. So you find that you're typing the wrong thing.
you want to tell your business partner to send money, and somebody comes around talking about tissues.
Now send tissues, you know, something like that.
Eat tissues.
Or eat tissues. You know? So, and I know, I mean, looking at the social media space, and this is now again me trying to factor in something here. Yeah? I find there is this bit of social media space being the virtual world, and then we have the real world. What I try now to understand is, why are we so much attracted by what is in the virtual world, yet you have that real relationship with somebody? And for me, I find it's because there's also something in us called ego, that you find if given an opportunity, and that's why you ask what is in your mind. So if given an opportunity, you want to pull that out, and you also get to be more attracted by that which is in the virtual space than what is in the real life. So what has worked for me is where I have conditioned myself. I know this is my working time. Like I know how my energy levels are. I work more during night time. During the day, I try to relate more with people. So I will be the kind of a person who will leave the office late, at times nearly midnight. But during the day, I'll be doing a lot of conversing, like one-on-one, because I also find that I'm an extrovert in terms of my personality. So that has worked. So before, when I tried now to be on the social media space or on my phone, yet I'm supposed to be talking with people, it didn't actually augur well with them. Right. Yes.
Now, bringing us back to the point. So you have a point where you say you have two people at a restaurant not talking to each other, yet they are out on a date. That's what they said they were going to do when they were leaving the home. Yeah. And then Ruth says being on social media is a conversation starter. Right? So what I see on social media will be a conversation starter. So, are we saying there's a communication problem already if we need that social media to provide a conversation starter?
Yes, I agree with you. There is a problem. Because I want to believe that there is that me that is supposed to be connecting with this other person, whether they are my spouse, and we don't necessarily need the social media to influence our conversations. Like without that, we cannot converse, you know. So as John is saying, we need to have a limit, yes. and make a decision, because sometimes even somebody is cooking in the kitchen, you know, food is almost burning because there is a gossip going on in one of the chats, and you can't just get off it.
Chit chat, Kilimani Mango.
Yeah,
You mentioned them.
I mean, it becomes so juicy, and you don't want to leave, and there's food to be cooked. There are children maybe to watch homework and all that. So I think, yes, we need to go back to real conversations. We need to get back to real life. Because again, some couples and families have been led to live other people's lives because we are watching, okay, so what are they doing this weekend? So what's happening in so-and-so's lives? So we forget we are supposed to be living our lives and start living other people's lives. So I guess, yes, there should be a limit. There must be. We need to take control of the social media ourselves.
So what I'm getting from the exchange between the two of you is that there's an element of conditioning that plays a huge part in consumption of technology in this way. You grew up without it, so it has come later. So you don't really need it. You use it for your convenience, but you don't need it. She grew up with it. If anything, I think ni wale walikuwa napatiwa na mzazi, wacha kunisumbua, shika.
Oh my God,
enda.
no.
Kwa sababu amesumbua sana, you know, play.
Yeah.
So she grew up with it, so it is a normal for her. So now it goes back now to who is responsible for this conditioning, all right? And what are they doing? So as far as, because you point out and say that there is an interaction problem between the generation, the .com generation, since I happen to be in between these two generations, somewhere in between there. So since tulikuwa tunajua kama .com, yeah? So there is that interaction problem between the two. So my question is, who should bear the brunt, the responsibility of fixing this problem? Hiyo nani anasikia ni kama anaweza jaribu? Because it's not really a problem, wrong term, like remedying the situation, because it is affecting relationships, either between couples or even between friends, because so many times we'll see people, like you'll post on WhatsApp stories and say, we are going out for a fun night. Sawa, sawa, sawa. Then you will see one has their phone showing them having a fun night, and what they are doing in the fun night is being on phone, posting before this one is doing it, and then when they are done posting, they are liking, oh, yes, this is me, and then sharing and then resharing. So what can be done? Probably John, you want to have a go.
Well, I know this, that after everything is said and done, we are all social beings. So there's a way we always come back to ourselves. And this can happen in a way that if you are among your peers, you still find a conversation to talk about. If it's in terms of a relationship between two people, people can agree and say, hey, this is what we intend to do. That at such and such particular moment or time, like let me say at night, maybe past 9, let's keep off social media. Let's have our time, you know. It can also be that people could also tell themselves, why am I really in the social media space? For me, it's business. So I know if I am not there, kwangu kutanuka kitunguu jioni, you know. So if you understand why you are really in that particular space, it will not be a big deal for you. I know this, that also people have a problem of trying to compare themselves. So you'll get to Instagram, you'll see these people are shopping wherever, these people are being taken out, and this I know it happens so much. I think men were on the receiving end, because if we have our significant others around, we will have a lot of questions to answer, you know? But I say that as it also gets into us, that this can also be a conversation you're very intentional about, I know we should find a way around, and also it's because I said we are social beings, so again, we will not probably struggle so much to find our way back. Yeah.
Yes.
I was really ready to dive into it when you asked. I feel like for each and every couple, there's something unique about them. And so probably for me, for example, it would have to be a conversation between both players in the relationship, right? So say if a couple has got kids, then it would only be common sense to at least spare some time when the kids are back home. Then when the kids, you know, are doing their homework or whatever before they need your help, then you can go back and check on your social media, because throughout the day you're at work. So really it's very difficult to socialize with other people. But at the same time, for those who are still, you know, dating and you're still courting, it is very important to be very sensitive or what kind of things you entertain on your social media, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, all these kind of platforms. But also there's this thing where we have, where WhatsApp automatically downloads your photos and your videos. So you could be in an all-girls group or an all-boys group, and then one of your friends sent their snack, you know? And so when your partner bumps into such kind of photos, and then you have questions to answer.
Mbona feel unajitetea on national TV on something that happened to you?
No, it's just, I think because this year, let me say this year, the past couple of months, I have really heard from friends and other people who just come to my inbox and they're like, hey, social media is really ruining my relationships. Mainly it is because of the gallery and also because of the things that people entertain on the wall. So as a couple, if you know you have a jealous partner, you have a partner who is jealous even when your female friend sends you love hearts, then you need to be very sensitive of the kind of things you entertain. But if you know that your partner doesn't care what's on social media, but they really have a problem with you even just touching that phone, then when you're together, it's just crucial to say, hey, I know you don't like when I'm on my phone and we're together, so I'm keeping it away. It's important to have that communication. Also tell your partner, hey, babe, I don't like it when we are in bed together and you're on phone. I don't like it because then we don't. So if you don't talk about it and you don't tell your partner about it, then it becomes a problem. Lakini sijitetei.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You're on a mission.
No. Me, I'm just saying it as I see it. I have a responsibility to represent.
Martin,
Yes.
I think we have to be intentional in balancing the time we spend on the social media. And we also have a danger of having very lonely couples in the years to come. Once the children have gone out, they've left the home, the two of you are left there. You've never had a good interaction season in your marriage. It's going to be lonely. What do you talk about? Because, I mean, we're not used to talking. So that means it's two people living their different worlds. We are only together because we are married and we have to live together. But the relationship is, we have that danger.
Ruth, don't you feel, probably you don't, but let me just put it that way. Don't you feel that social media, in a way, is a pacifier? It's an escape from dealing with, as you'd call it, reality. For example, if your person is boring, dealing with the fact that he is boring, you don't want to, so you'd rather use social media to try and pacify that situation. Would you agree with that?
First of all, if my person is boring, he would not be my person. But I would agree.
Ruth's person, uko sawa. Uko sawa.
Yes, very soon. But I would agree that we do need to have very real one-to-one conversations at this level. If we are at a place where we are courting, you know, just before we actually acknowledge and we agree we are going into this, it would be very good for us to have purely, you know, very honest one-on-one conversations. Because then you're able to know when I am surprised by a question you ask me. Of course, when I lie, when I'm responding to something. So you're able to sort of feed off the energy of the other person. But at the same time, in as much as social media could be an escape of reality in certain ways, if it's moderated, it's not as bad as we're trying to make it look like. If you go to the extent where your partner is sleeping with the phone, I would rather you go, you know, and sleep with that phone, because then why are we sleeping together if you need your phone, you know, under the pillow? So if we take it to such extent, and then, yeah, it is poisonous. But if we are moderating them, then I don't think it is as bad as we're making it sound, because for me,
Making it true, that's the reality.
no, we are making it sound very bad. You see, for me, again, just as Martin said, I mean, I got, you know, those small Motorola's that I cannot even afford right now. When I was in class 3. So all along, I have always known the handset is a very important thing to have. Right, and so coming into a point, and it's very likewise to most people in my generation. So it is very difficult to now say, when you're in the house, so long as you get into that door, make sure you're only on that phone when you're answering it. Because I also want to know what is my high school friend, you know, doing. There's something they had posted yesterday. Let me see if there's a follow-up today. It's human nature. And then even Milka, I'm sure.
The whole night?
Not the whole night. That's not the whole night. That's why I'm saying we need to moderate
Exactly,
it.
that's
If we
what
take
you're
it to
saying,
such
balancing.
extent, then it's poisonous.
Yes.
But it's not as bad as we are trying to make it sound.
Well, they say in the last 1,000 years, the only other thing that has been that constant with a human compared to the mobile phone is the handkerchief. Yes, which I am sure most of us do not have now, but we have our mobile phones
No,
with
I
us.
have to handkerchief.
Yeah.
I have to.
In my
I
bag.
said most. we are 4 here. So that statistic has been confirmed just here and now. But I I feel there's a way this conversation, as far as social media and its effect is concerned, needs to go. Number one, we have, of course, the gap, the generational gap. She says she's been using it ever since she was in class 3, and you found it somewhere in between, and you've been using it, okay? So, because I still want to go back to who needs to be able to give a solution to it, because I'm looking at the place where we have that parent who gave her the mobile phone at class 3. Probably their reason was to be able to easily communicate with my child wherever they are, okay? But then we're looking specifically also at social media. And with time, this child will be like, why does my phone only send messages? May I also want to go on Instagram and WhatsApp. So these overseers, what responsibility are we giving them? Because that's what I want to hear. What responsibility are we giving them?
The overseer is responsible. Where a child is concerned, you are the parent. Take charge. Train your child. I think it is very important for those who have reached the age of understanding. Teach them, talk to them, tell them the pros and cons of being on the social media, and warn them on the, maybe even sites to keep off from, the times that they spend on the social media. I think, yes, as a parent, it is my responsibility to actually train this child, to actually tell them the truth, the pros and cons, what would happen if you go to this extreme. It is my responsibility.
But you see, for example, when you're talking about some, probably as we wrap up, when we're talking about something like those people who sell lifestyles, for example, we see what Beyonce and Jay-Z are doing, or the Kenyan version of Beyonce and Jay-Z, say me and my wife, what we are doing on social media, you know. But isn't it almost the same as when you were growing up? You always knew Mama Nani has a Harrier, and you know that is what we know her as. She started off as selling ice cream, just as the ice cream, barafu zile za shilingi moja moja. Sasa akona hardware. Now she's just giving that to a wider audience because there's also the business element of it. So, are we saying that motivation also? Because I'm a brand, for example. I'm selling something to those who are out there, and there are brands who want to come on board with me as a business because that is what social media is doing. So there is the producers, let me call them producers of content on social media, and then there are consumers. What should we also now say to the producers? Because we've mostly talked about the consumers and how it is affecting their relationship. So are we telling the producers, you people, by the way, you're ruining people's lives and people's relationships? John?
Now, I think because even some of these things to go public and viral as they have, there is also regulation that is involved. So where there is a backing in terms of a science research or something to justify that, that actually I believe is what has allowed, the availability of these apps and all to the consumers. For example, YouTube. We have YouTube for kids nowadays because they realize that the other YouTube has,
there are some things that they were hypnotizing kids with. I personally got scared when I saw that.
Yeah, so, and we know now regulations come from such angles. It means a country like Kenya could also come up with a way of trying to scan and see
its own policies,
yes, whatever is being consumed to this particular demographics, how will it affect them? I'll say there is a way you will consume social media as a person who wants to be in business, and therefore it's a tool for you of trade. There's also a way you'll also consume social media as a place where you'll also go and get some specific talent, like LinkedIn. Why would I go to LinkedIn? It's because I'm interested in some particular professionals, or professions, So if somebody will also now know, and this I'm now speaking from a point of education, that it's important for you as you consume whatever you're consuming on the social media space, ask yourself, how am I actually benefiting from it?
WhatsApp stories do not.
And also look at it from this way. I would go to Facebook because I know Kenyans are creative, so there's some memes there that I will laugh about. So if I am feeling lonely, I know where to go and see what Kenyans are saying about some particular things and laugh about it. So, and that's it. Beyond that, I'm not interested, So if people are intentional in terms of what they actually get to benefit from whatever they consume, then it will also help. It will not be actually a big deal in terms of, hey, don't be here, be here, because you'll be intentional.
All right.
Yeah.
Final remarks, Ruth, as we wrap up?
I think...
I'm sorry we have attacked you in a way. Everybody has been attacked in one way or another.
No. I think telling the content producers or the creatives in the social media world that you're ruining people's lives is like telling a cigarette manufacturer that, hey, you need to stop doing this product, right? Even as much as they know it is bad for the health of those who consume it, all they can do is put, some caution on it, because at the end of the day, they need to eat, right? So what probably we need to do is sensitize and just get the consumers to know what is important for me, what do I need to feed on, what do I need to leave alone, what is going to ruin me and what is going to make me, what do I need to, do I need to buy something from this platform or not? But for those who are probably the content producers, when they sponsor some of these ads, they need to be very careful with their target age. When they put out some of this content, they need to be very careful with how they put it. Because right now, and I think we've said this before, is there's a lot of, in all our ads, say 90% of them, there's a lot of sexuality that's being used to draw in audiences. And so you look at an advert like Kimbo or something, just, a food product, and there's a lot of sexuality that goes into it, and of course that is something that a child is going to watch. That is something that someone who is not mentally stable to get into a relationship where someone is practicing celibacy would consume. And so such then tends to play a role in our children, in our relationships, because with time you want your partner's skin to shimmer like that one of Nivea's, And so I think we really need to talk to ourselves as the consumers, have an honest conversation with ourselves as we do this, and try minimalize, that comparison between what we see, because everyone's journey is different at the end of the day.
True, true. Right. Last but not least?
Also, maybe to add on to what my colleagues have said, is that also in health issues, we have read of scientific proven discoveries that there are people affected, their spines, the back, the spinal cord.
The crane neck.
Yes,
the crane neck.
yes,
Yeah.
because of the period spent. Yes, it is not healthy, it is not good for us. So, plus now let's engage the policymakers to have controls and checks. We as the parents, let's take charge and protect our children as well. And ourselves, each one of us.
Of course,
yes.
definitely.
Let's feed what's positive and what's of value to our minds and to our hearts. Yes.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you very much, Milka. It has been a wonderful engagement. I've really enjoyed it. It's sad we are out of time. Probably call you next time to expound further on this because there are elements I'm sure we have not touched on. But what has been clear is excessive consumption of social media is harmful to your relationship. Please, consume it wisely. Stand tall. Don't want your head to be like this throughout. And consume wisely. Consume what I'm producing. But yeah, consume wisely. Thank you very much for joining us again on Relationship Wednesday. Talk to Pastor Chris. Again, your TV is not broken. I'm not Pastor Chris. I'm just representing him. I'm Martin Givenji. And until next time, remember, social media handles are KTN Life_style on Twitter. We have KTN Life and Style on Facebook, and Life and Style at standardmedia.co.ke as the email address. My social media is @Daddy_Mato. Thank you very much for joining us, and until next time, please consume wisely. Have a wonderful day.